Hi, everyone. It is Dr. Karen, the Women's Midlife Specialist. And boy, oh boy, do I have a great set of labs for you today because LA, 53 years old, did all sorts of labs for us. So we're going to be able to look at these and really discover a lot of cool things. In addition to that, look, she did labs back in 2012, twice in 2012, once in 2013, and then now currently. So this is a lovely 53-year-old lady, and I recognized her name because I've super enjoyed interacting with you, LA, on Facebook. But in any event, LA is post menopause and she did do the whole 9 yards. So she's obviously very familiar with ZRT, and that's probably why she wanted to do them all. She saw it as a good opportunity. Having done them 3 other times. She's also did her thyroid hormones, which, I'm going to go ahead and throw in there today because there's some interest there. And certainly later in the year, I'm going to talk a whole lot more about thyroid. So I might as well use this opportunity to do a little bit of thyroid. Discovery now for you. So currently, what LA is on, and what is also cool, is that they show everything that she's been on in the past, not just what she's on currently. So, right now, LA is on what I have blocked here. So, she is on 10 milligrams of oral DHEA, 20 milligrams of topical progesterone, and she's on 60 milligrams of Armor and a little bit of melatonin as well. So, Armor thyroid, 60 milligrams, that's equivalent to about 100 micrograms of synthroid or levothyroxine. Armor is a natural desiccated thyroid, and it's part T4 and part T3. And synthroid is complete T4. So we'll talk about that shortly. Also, what is interesting is that in the past, she used 25 milligrams of oral DHEA. She was doing that in 2012. And then in 2013, she was using 25 milligrams of topical DHEA. I see this mistake commonly, and that some doctors think that it is, or in people, because you can actually get DHEA over the counter, but I actually even see doctors make the mistake of thinking that oral and topical are one to one. Now, I do want to point out something interesting because LA also sent us information that she was neglecting to use gloves and she was not alternating sites when she used her progesterone. So I'm suspect that might have been the case even here in 2013 when she was using topical. Let's see, here's 2013 topical DHEA and topical progesterone, because you can see that 25 milligrams of topical DHEA, which is actually equivalent to about 100 milligrams orally, is 3.7. It was actually lower than when she was taking it by mouth. So when she was taking it by mouth, she was actually absorbing it better because she's not rotating her sites, and she's not using gloves, so a lot of it is probably absorbing into her hand or into lotions, and certainly not absorbing when you don't rotate sites. Her progesterone was, she's been on 20 milligrams of progesterone all along, here, and even remains on 20 milligrams of progesterone today. And these levels are all about the same. This was a little higher here, all about the same. And she has not been estrogen dominant. Now we see what's happening here. She has never been on any estrogens. There's no estrogens in here at all, only DHEA and topical progesterone. progesterone. So I have to guess what she is thinking, or what she, because I can't remember. I'm sorry, I can't remember. I talk with so many people on Facebook, so I can't remember the specifics of why she's not on any estrogen right now. In any event, we see kind of a slow decline, not a big surprise there, right? Now at age 53 and postmenopausal. Okay, so let's move to the next one. So we see a low normal for postmenopause estrogen not supplementing. That is low normal, even though it's zero point 0.9, and that is low. But postmenopausally, we know that we expect to be low, so we go 0.5 to 1.7. Now, if you were supplementing, of course, your reference range would be different. It actually is zero point 0.8 to 12 is what's considered normal, optimal being between 1.3 and 3.3. So her estradiol is low normal for not supplementing after menopause. Her progesterone is low normal, 274, for someone who is supplementing, normal between 200 and 3000. She's 274. She is not estrogen dominant because this estrogen is so low. Now, if she were taking estrogen, she would need more progesterone, because she would need probably more progesterone, because 300, that's right in the middle, so she could start getting a little closer to that 100 to 500 mark. So that's something to consider. Now, let's look at the next interesting thing, and she tested both estriol and estrone. Her estriol is less than 0.9. That's the lowest that they can measure. So basically, there's no estriol enough in there for them to actually identify. So they just give a value of less than 0.9. And that's not a surprise, because estriol is our estrogen for during pregnancy. So we would expect that to be low unless you're supplementing with it. Estrone, though, check this out. She is not supplementing with any estrogens, and it's high. It's 4.0. It's not terribly high, just a little high, 4.0. So normal between 0.9 and 3.1. Actually, for a thin person, even less than 0.9. You would want to see less than 0.9. So she's 4.0, which I think is going to deserve some attention. So without supplementing with any estrogen, can anybody guess or wonder why this estrone, E1, is actually high? Well, we're going to investigate that a little further. Now, testosterone is also high normal, 53 for no supplementation, though she is supplementing with 10 milligrams of oral DHEA, and actually her DHEA is only 4.3. So we'd like to keep that on board. We don't want to lose that ability to use DHEA. She certainly needs it, and when we look at her symptoms, you're going to see why. But with 10 milligrams orally every day, she's got a 4.3. Could there be a problem if she supplemented with higher doses of DHEA? We're going to talk about that. And cortisols are all pretty good, except her midnight cortisol is a little bit high at 1.2. And interestingly, she does use some melatonin, 3 milligrams, and she does have trouble with sleep. So we'll look at this thyroid in just a minute. So let's take a look at some of these graphs so you can get a little bit better picture. So her estradiol here, E2, is at the lowest end of normal for somebody who is not even supplementing at all. She's still at the lower end of normal. Her progesterone is actually up here. She supplements with that. Her testosterone is high for her age without supplementing. Interesting. Okay. And her DHEA, she takes 10 milligrams orally, is down here. For a 53-year-old that is supplementing, she's low. So she's at the low end of normal, but she's also supplementing. And this saliva cortisol doesn't look too terrible, just that night one at midnight. So her sleep disturbance, not a super big surprise because really we've got a very small reference range where cortisol should be at midnight. And outside of this reference range really can easily cause sleep disturbance. So let's take a look at some of her symptoms. Now, it was, I played with her symptoms a little bit because it's kind of fun to be able to look back at old symptoms and look at new symptoms and see where they've come. And there's a few of them that have actually gradually gotten worse, and that's important. And so the best thing to do at first is to look down here. Down here, when you look at the overall combination of the symptoms, you can see that her number one complaint, that they gave a number of 57.82, her number one complaint is put into a group of metabolic syndrome. And look over here in 2012. She did it twice in 2012, just a few months apart. There were no symptoms of metabolic syndrome. And then in 2013, look at that big jump. Here's where she was making some big changes. She was making some huge changes in her life between 2012 and 2013. If I were able to talk to her privately, this is what I would likely find out, and it has not gotten better. In fact, it's gotten worse. So we have gone from 11 to 26 to 57. And this is now her number one boogaboo. And then let's just drop down to this next one, and holy moly, there we go, high cortisol. So low cortisol is right after that, but this is adrenal issues, this high cortisol. So over the years, she has had progressive stress and increasing metabolic syndrome and probably weight gain and worsening insomnia and elevated cortisol. It's like a hamster on a hamster wheel. You get on, you can't get off. Now, here's the third one. Estrogen and progesterone deficiency is her third area of complaint. So we've got metabolic syndrome, high cortisol, this is adrenal dysfunction, and estrogen and progesterone deficiencies. So what I did in terms of symptoms, I put the severe ones in blocks and I put the moderate ones in circles. And so it's easy to see. We've got hot flashes are severe, sleep disturbance is severe, morning fatigue is severe, stress is severe. Weight gain is severe, and then the rest are that I circled are moderate, and we can see some worsening of symptoms. Blood pressure has gradually increased, constipation has gradually increased. Let's see, some other things that have gradually increased. I didn't underline it, but those were the ones that I saw that jumped out at me. These weight gain has gradually increased. Not a big surprise there. Now, she did rate her stress here as very high. So this is severe, moderate, severe. So she's been dealing with a lot of stress for a long time, and that's probably what drove her to want to check out her hormones in the first place. Okay, let's see. Sleep disturbance has been a problem for some time, and hot flashes have been gradually getting worse. Okay, so that's her symptoms in a nutshell. So I might remind us all of that as we go along here. And let's move in to the next part of the assessment. So we're still in the assessment part. We're not even in the treatment part yet. Okay. So we expect this E2 estradiol to be low or low normal, and we expect her progesterone to be normal for 20 milligrams of progesterone supplementation. And we expect her estriol E3 to be low because that's our estrogen in pregnancy. And this E1, we don't expect this, but it's slightly elevated. So why? Could DHEA oral dose cause this? Because it converts to androstenedione, which converts to estrone. But it's not really likely when our DHEA is only 4.3. Okay, it's not likely when our DHEA isn't elevated. Could it be fat cells? Could she have elevated estrone? And it's not terribly elevated, but it's enough to say, you know, got to nip it in the bud. So could it be because BMI is creeping up? Anything over, 25, we're working into the overweight. Anything over 29, into the 30, we actually unfortunately get lumped in that obese category. So 5.4, 170 pounds, waist to 37. This is likely why she has been having increasing cortisol issues, worsening sleep, and increased weight gain. Okay, so could it also be a poor clearance of estrogen? Could it be a nutrient deficiency of cofactors which clear estrogen? Could it be gut health? Could she have poor gut detoxification, liver detoxification, her phase 1, phase 2 detoxifications? Could this be possible? Actually, we don't know. Any one of those could be possible. So DHEA being too high, I doubt it. With a 4.3 and a measly dose of 10 milligrams, that is a normal dose for a 50-year-old to take. So I doubt very seriously that's it, unless she is not detoxifying properly. So it's why would somebody not be detoxifying properly is the true question. That's the true question. Is there a gut issue, a liver issue, lacking nutrient issue? And she is positive for increasing constipation. And one thing that we learn right off when we're talking about the GI system in functional medicine is that you never increase phase 1 detoxification unless you've got good movements of your bowels. Because what happens in phase 1, so here's phase 1, where a lot of things happen in the liver that detoxify chemicals and our estrogens, and through enzymes called P450 enzymes, which require lots of nutrients. You're missing nutrients, you are not going to properly detoxify. Glutathione, the number one major antioxidant in the body, commonly depleted with stress, commonly depleted with stress. I got to tell you a story about that. And if you're deficient in any of this, your P450 enzyme system is not going to work properly. But if you start detoxifying chemicals in the liver, but you are constipated, or you have a poor detoxification system in the bowel, guess what? Or elsewhere, guess what? If you cannot eliminate properly, you are going to actually release higher amounts of, you are going to have higher amounts of toxins because you are not eliminating properly. So the liver has an intermediary, it's saying metabolism, but the intermediates between phase 1 and phase 2 are actually more toxic than what phase 2 eliminates. So if you cannot eliminate properly, you've got to get the bowels moving properly before you treat the liver and get the liver to detoxify better. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I hope also you see the importance of why I said, could she be lacking adequate nutrients? We commonly don't take care of ourselves in terms of our nutrients. We can't get it all in our diet. There's just no freaking way. So this is an important thing to think about. Getting bowels moving, getting proper nutrient supplementation. Now, when you look at DHEA, could DHEA be too high? And you follow DHEA down the pathway of how it converts to other hormones. Here's your androstenedione that then converts to estrone. And here's your estrone, and it does so through a uh, enzyme called aromatase, which also requires B vitamins, folic acid, glutathione, flavonoids. If you're Once you convert to estrone, and estrone is detoxified in the liver, it then uses the COMT enzymatic systems that require additional nutrients to uh, 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 convert to metabolites that are methoxyestrogens that can then be excreted through the gut. Estrone also goes to 16 alpha hydroxyestrone, and the same thing, it goes through the gut and is eliminated. Now, it can also, estrone, be converted into quinones. And when they are converted into quinones, they become toxic. This is what we find high in women who have breast cancer or ovarian cancer or uterine cancer. Okay. Now, quinones have one more chance of getting detoxified, and that is through glutathione transferase. It's an enzyme, glutathione transferase, that gives quinones one more chance to become inactivated and excreted through the bowel. But if glutathione is low because of stress, this is what puts us at higher risk of toxic estrogens, these quinone estrogens. So that's why I'm saying, making somewhat of a big deal out of this for estrone, because LA's symptoms are, her third symptom is estrogen and progesterone deficiency. And she has a severe hot flashes, and she has a low estrogen, okay? But she has a high estrone. So this is a picture I don't like to see. This is a picture that I focus far more on other things outside of sex hormones, uh, or at least just as much. No, I would say more. I focus more on that. Now, sex hormones, like I've told you before, they're, to me, easy to fix. It's this other stuff that requires a lot of effort and knowledge. And that's why I'm doing these videos, to give you knowledge on how to just live the best life that you can live, the healthiest life, the healthiest life. That's what we deserve, and that's what those who love us deserve, and that's what we're going to get. Okay, so what are our options here? Let's just talk about some options here, because I see it as two different options, and I see either one appropriate because they both need to be retested in about 3 months. So option number one is, before adding any estrogens or changing any hormones, sex hormones at all, we need to work on the other areas first. So we need to work on the gut, the nutrients, make sure our glutathione and antioxidants are elevated, or the best we can make them. Make sure these are optimized. We need to work on that metabolic syndrome and the adrenals at the same time. They go hand in hand. And also, that sleep is so important. So I say 3-month goals, because 3 months is possible. Now, you can break that down into shorter goals, like 1 month at a time, but you could have a 3-month and a 1 month. You can have a 1 week, 1 month, 3 month. But focus to commit at least 3 months, because it's 3 months when you want to retest. So we're going to go over how to do this stuff in just momentarily. I just want to give you these two options first, LA. So we would then retest your sex hormones plus estrone. I don't think there's any point to test the cortisol again that extensively. I don't think you need to because we know where your problem is. And I don't think you have to test estriol unless you start on hormones. You could test estriol. Otherwise, you don't need to. We know where you're at, less than 0.9. So I would say if you did option one, it would stay on the same hormones to keep your hormone variables stable. So we're messing with all this other stuff and getting you tuned up. Okay, here's our option number two is to go ahead, add that biest and increase your progesterone. You don't want to add estrogen without increasing your progesterone, which basically would be good anyway, because I think really your progesterone is on the lower end of normal anyway for when someone is supplementing. So normal being between, if you're supplementing 200 and 3,000, you're 274. And progesterone is so important to increase GABA, our calming neurotransmitter, and it's so important in our sleep. And it's so important to improve our mood. And you did rank a moderate complaint of severe complaint of stress, but moderate of like irritability and mood changes. So this would be my choice, option two, but you haven't ever used any down here. I see all the opportunities you had it. So I don't know what that reason is. So that's why I wanted to give you both of these options, because I'm not speaking with you directly. So the gut, the nutrients, the glutathione, making sure all these are optimized, focusing on metabolic syndrome, adrenals, and sleep all at the same time. And in addition to this biest and progesterone, that would be hormone heaven, 2 pumps twice daily. That's going to double your progesterone. That's going to put you at 20 milligrams twice daily of progesterone and give you the biest as well. In terms of the melatonin, up to 20 milligrams per day does not interfere with any sex hormones. A 20 milligrams at 6 months tends to decrease testosterone. That we know, which I think means it's probably too much. So anytime that you're altering one after another, then because of another, then there are interactions that I think are worth thinking about. So I would increase that melatonin to 5 to 10 milligrams. And because you shared with us that you don't use gloves and you don't alternate application sites, of course, I want you to do that too. Okay, so what else do we need to do? Well, we got a lot of stuff, and this shouldn't be a big surprise to you, because I know, LA, you've been watching these videos and you've been learning a lot. But for you, my darling, we got to get those bowels moving. I mean, we just got to get those bowels moving. So lots of water, high amounts of vegetables, psyllium fiber if needed. Increase your magnesium in your diet by supplements if necessary, but get those bowels moving. You need to get moving. So if you're not moving, if you're not walking and drinking lots of water and eating high fiber, I'm telling you, your bowels won't move. So estrogen, yes, does help move bowels. But let's say you choose not to use the estrogen. Even if you did take the biest, you still need to do all these things: water, high amounts of vegetables, psyllium fiber, increase your magnesium, walk. Now, that's going to also help your metabolic syndrome. It's going to help it. It will get the metabolic diet. The metabolic syndrome diet will also get your bowels moving, and your bowels moving will help your metabolic syndrome. That's the beauty of our body. I mean, that is really the beauty. It all works together. And one thing always beautifies another. We're just one big, beautiful, shining star is what I think. And then what happens is we get on this hamster wheel, and the shine off of all of our limbs and all of our points start to dim. And when one starts to dim, another dims. You've got to picture yourself as a moonbeam, just beams coming out of every finger, every toe, every end of every hair. And that's when we're just full of energy and just at our absolute best. And so one feeds into the other. So we got to make sure that you're on a very good nutrient support system. I really like Life Extension Comprehensive nutrient packs. I like them a lot. I have a surprise. I hate to really give it away, but we've got some stuff coming in June that you're going to be excited about. But in any event, right now, I like this nutrient pack a lot. Now, just remember that all the intricacies that I showed you, let's see where they are. Where was I? There they are. All of these, there's intricacies with the millions and millions um, of enzyme reactions in the body. Everything needs nutrients, so we've got to remember that. Just millions of enzymatic reactions, just begging for multiple nutrients, vitamins and minerals to run smoothly. Okay, so you need a good adrenal product. You know that. And I didn't see one on there for you that you're not really taking one. I personally would recommend this one because of a little bit of anxiety, irritability that you have, Adrenovive. This is going to be your adaptogenic herbs, and I don't think it's enough. I think in reality, I'd like to see you pop onto L-theanine as well. It's that sleep issue that concerns me with you, and that's going to leave you feeling dragged out in the morning. So this L-theanine, don't give up. I want to tell you, I have gotten so many people off of Xanax and Ativan with L-theanine, and I want to tell you personally, I used to take 1,200 milligrams of L-theanine myself. And I got to tell you, another really cool story is that there was a surgeon friend of mine, high, powerful cardiovascular surgeon, who very high strung perfectionist, of course, thank goodness. And he came to me and just told me that he's just, feels like type A personality is going crazy with it, and he just wanted to change. I said, well, honey, you get on L-theanine and you promise me you take 400 milligrams 3 times a day. You promise me you take it for a month. You come back and tell me how you feel in a month. He did. He came back. He took 1,200 milligrams, 400 3 times a day, and he came back in a month and he said, I cannot believe it, but I feel awesome. So this L-theanine is wonderful, and I would highly recommend it with the Adrenovive. So give yourself this time. Take at least 400 to 800 a day, and 400 of it should be at nighttime before you go to bed. And I would take your Adrenovive before bedtime too. So your Adrenovive, your L-theanine, and maybe take it an hour or two before bed. Okay, so it starts to kick in, and your melatonin a little bit before bed too. All right, you might also consider a sustained release form of melatonin. So if you took a 10 milligram, it might release 5 milligrams right away, and then 5 milligrams gradually over the course of the night. So that would be my recommendation as far as that goes. Now, I know you know this. Don't forget that metabolic diet. We got to do the low glycemic carbohydrate diet, healthy fat, healthy fat, healthy fat. Don't forget this healthy fat for bowels. The bowels love avocado and olive oil and hemp oil. You got to remember with water. Yes, you have to have the water and the fiber, but remember you need something for slip or slide. Remember remember that old slip and slide thing that we used to have? We didn't use just water to slide down the slip and slide. We put on baby shampoo. Remember, we put on Johnson's baby shampoo because it made us slippery, and then we'd slide down the slip and slide, just really cool. So that's what you want. You want nice, fluffy stools that just slide right out. With that healthy fat, always adequate protein. So here's your metabolic syndrome diet. Really, really, really important. I want you to super focus on this for the next 3 months. You're not going to believe how much better you're going to be. All right, so we've got one more thing to look at, my darling, and that's your thyroid. So right now, you're on Armor Thyroid 60 milligrams. This is a natural desiccated thyroid. It's 4 parts T4 to 1 part T3. T3, and this is very similar to human thyroid. Our human thyroid is actually what we put out is actually 3 parts T4 to 1 part T3. So it's close. Now, when I look at your thyroid, the amount of thyroid, you have free T4 of 0.9. This is a little above the lowest end of normal, and free T3 2.6, a little above the lowest end of normal. So this is kind of still putsy, right? I mean, wouldn't you like to be at the higher end of these normal values? I'd like to see you at the higher end of these normal values. There's a lot of nutrients that are required to put out thyroid hormone. That TSH 1.4, that's at the higher end of a functional medicine number. You want this to be between 0.5 and 1.5. So you're 1.4. So could you actually use more thyroid hormone? Yes, you could go up to 90 milligrams of Armour thyroid. You could bump that. But would that be best? I don't know. I really honestly don't know. If you were sitting in my office, and you told me that you were going to do all this other stuff, I'd probably bump you up. But if you weren't going to do all this other stuff, I would definitely not bump you up. And the reason is because it will just eventually make you more tired. Because here you are asking the thyroid gland and asking your body to make to use more hormone, and you're not ready for it. You've got to get your adrenal glands healthy in order to be able to manage more thyroid hormone. So really, I think right now your best bet is to really work hard on this metabolic syndrome, these adrenals, this sleep, and the sex hormones first. I want you to seriously consider meditation and acupuncture. I did a lot of acupuncture. Also consider yoga. It's kind of like meditation, active meditation. Journaling is like meditation. And you've got to remove the stress from your life. You've just got to say, hey, look, it just doesn't matter. This doesn't mean anything anymore. This isn't important. What is the most important thing to me? Ask yourself those questions. And then finally, I really want to pass this recommendation on to you, this book, Adrenal Fatigue, that was written by James Wilson. He's a naturopathic physician and also a doctor of chiropractic medicine. I want to tell you, I just love this man. I just think that he is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And he wrote this book, The 21st Century Stress Syndrome. And if you read it, it's written for the layman. It's written for everyone. And if you follow it closely, you will do great. You will do great because it actually, even though it's addressing adrenal fatigue and it's addressing adrenals, it actually helps a lot with metabolic syndrome, sleep, and when you fix these things, your sex hormones do better too. Now, you're post-menopause, so unfortunately, there's nothing that will actually fix your hormones in terms of renewing them to youthful levels except actual bioidentical hormones. But it will help balance them. They will still be better balanced when you have this metabolic syndrome under control. You will no longer have elevated high ends of testosterone. This comes from the adrenal glands, my love. Your ovaries aren't making testosterone anymore. You're not getting this from DHEA. You're getting this from your adrenal glands because they are overstimulated. Okay, so my darling, I think that that's a handful, and I think that you can do it. I have gotten to know you pretty well on Facebook. So you go, girl, and you let us know how you're doing and let us know what you decided. And this was my absolute pleasure to help you. And I look forward to seeing you on Facebook and all the rest of you as well. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.